welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I am delighted to have back, and it's very appropriate that we have Howard back with us today, and I'm talking about Howard Stephen Berg, and he's formerly a New York City high school science teacher, but really he's now in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's fastest reader. And he's got some great tips for us as we head back to school coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we want to talk to him about that. It's not only in speed, but most of all in retention. How you doing, Howard? Good to see you, man.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to the interview.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into this, did you read Obamacare?
I read, there was actually 3 versions. The first version was the 1,500-page Senate version. I read that in 50 minutes. I read the 2,000-page House version in 58 minutes, and then the combined version, 2,600 pages in 90 minutes.
Did you understand it?
Yes. Yes.
And what's your take?
Depends on your situation. If you've got a youngster who's turning 21 with an incurable disease, it'll probably keep him alive. If you're middle-aged and you lost your job and your health insurance and have pre-existing conditions, it'll probably save your life. If you're young and fit and healthy, you're probably not going to want to pay for it. So different people will have a different view on it depending on their personal circumstances.
All right, great. Hey, what led you to go down this road with speed reading? I mean, you're a science teacher. What happened here?
Well, actually, I'm a scientist who became a science teacher. I'm a psychobiologist. I was basically in my junior year of college, I was a biologist. I got interested in the brain, and I went to the dean. I said, I want to do a dual major in bio and psych. He said, you can't. You have 1 year of college left, and you'll have to take 6 science courses at the same time. You haven't had any psych courses. So you basically have to do the 4-year psych program in 1 year, and frankly, you're not smart enough. And that's when it hit me. They don't teach learning in school or work. You can listen to the radio, hear a song, and sing it forever, perfectly. You read a book for work or school, and the next day you don't know the title and who wrote it. So there had to be a way to learn things that matter, the way we learn those song lyrics. And there was. And I got up to 80 pages a minute. I did a 4-year program in 1 year. I even did the GRE in biology. I memorized 48 books in 3 nights. Books like genetics, cell physiology, plant systematics, and biochemistry. And I got an 800, which is in the 99th percentile. So it does show that it can be used with very technical information successfully. Wow.
And your passion now is to help people do the same thing.
I had a 16-year-old, Stephen Terry, graduated UTA here in Dallas at 16 with a 4.0 with economics major, master's in math at 19 from OU with a 3.97. Brad Voller did 4-year college in 6 months, learned Chinese in 3 weeks, and became a missionary. One of my students, Micah Stanley, passed the bar at 19 in California. So these are just some examples that it's not just that I can do it, but I can teach it.
Wow, good for you. All right, so we're heading back to school. What's your passion here? What do you want parents to know?
How to help their kids make this the best year ever. We can teach them how to read faster, what to study, and how to remember it in a very short amount of time.
All right, so how do we go about this?
Well, first we'll discuss why do people read slowly and then see how to fix it. And then we'll learn what they need to learn, and then we'll learn how to remember it. So we'll have covered like the key areas of learning in a very short amount of time.
All right, let me say to our viewers and listeners, HowardBergSpeedReading.com. That is his website. And
actually, it's Howie Program. Howie Program.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. HowieProgram.com.
Howie, HOWIE program.com.
Okay, HowieProgram.com. I apologize for that. All
Thank
right,
you.
So can you teach audiences how to read faster?
Yes, we'll do it right now.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, first the problem. Why is it when you're in a car, you could read the road, you're reading on a highway maybe 60, 70 miles an hour in 4 directions, front, back, left, and right. And while you're doing that, you're watching your instruments, you're watching your GPS, and you're bored. So you turn on the radio, you talk to your friends, you talk to people on the phone, you're still bored. You read a book, and the actual average speed is about 200 words per minute, and you're lucky the next day to remember the name of the book and who wrote it, let alone what was in it. how come we could read the road in 4 directions and multitask, but we can only read about 200 words a minute? And the difference is in the car, we're seeing everything like a movie. It's very visual. In a book, it's like someone's in the back of your head pronouncing one word at a time. So we're literally hearing a book with our eyes. And what I'll do now is show people how to start playing the movie in the book that they're playing in the car so they can go about 10, 20% faster in the next 3 minutes.
Go.
What I'd like you to do after the show is over, take a book, preferably nonfiction, that you've read. The key element here is if you were to read the book at your normal speed, you wouldn't find anything new or confusing. You want to make sure the only thing that might confuse you is how quickly you're reading and not what you're reading. Now, go to the first page of the first chapter. Make sure you have a pen or pencil and a timer. Some of you have smartphones or watches or egg timer in the kitchen. And for 1 minute, read at your normal speed. And at the end of the minute, take a pen or pencil, just mark off with a little mark in the margin how far you went. So now you know how fast you can read in a minute. Now go to the second chapter, and here's the secret sauce. You want to take your left hand and move it across the page, 1 line at a time, with your eye following your hand as quickly as you could comprehend. As long as you're still comprehending, keep going faster till you don't know what you're reading, so you find your ceiling. Then go just slow enough that the comprehension comes back. And for about 5 minutes, practice reading 1 line at a time using your hand as quickly as you could comprehend, going from left to right margin, 1 line at a time. After that, go back to the first chapter where you tested yourself. And again for a minute, read at your best speed, this time with your hand. And you're going to be amazed. You're going to go 10, 15, maybe even 20% further past that little mark that you made the first time, just with this one very easy to do change. It's that simple.
So what's the hand on the page doing for you?
It's keeping your eye engaged. There's a number of things that slow people down. One thing's called visual regression, where you read a word, the dog rang, the dog rang a bell. A lot of people, they'll repeat words or phrases, or they'll stop and look at something that was interesting they've already learned instead of continuing. Or they read something again because it was fun or interesting, and it ends up a lot of their time is spent relearning what they know, seeing things that they're entertaining, but they don't need to look at any further. The hand keeps the eye engaged and moving at a constant rate, so you're continually taking in new information and not stopping every few seconds and wasting a lot of valuable time you can't afford to waste. It makes it more visual.
So where does the increased retention come in?
2 things. First is how do you understand text, and I'll show you that. Then what to learn, and then how to remember it. So there's actually 3 things. The key to understanding and reading comes from psychology. It's called schema. That's a big word, but all it means is what you know already. So if you're reading a book and it says the man drank a glass of water, you don't go, stop. What's a glass? What's a man? What's water? Because these things are in your brain, you understand the words. I'm going to read a passage that has no schema. And watch how confused you become. Then I'm going to put 1 word on top, a title, and instantly you'll know every word effortlessly. So you can see exactly how schema makes text comprehensible, which is what you were asking me. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake and may cost you quite a bit of money. Right now, it's confusing. It isn't making a whole lot of sense. Watch what happens when I put a title on and how instantly you know exactly what I'm reading to you.
Okay.
Laundry. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake. It may cost you quite a bit of money. Suddenly, it's like, I know what he's talking about. By teaching people where the schematic clues are, even at high speed, they're actually getting better understanding because it's the schema. That's the golden ticket that makes the words on the page pop and make sense to your brain. So you actually can read faster and better at the same time by learning the psychology of reading and not just how to speed up. And that's what I do.
Boy, that is fascinating. By the way, I know people who talk like that. They just start in the middle of the sentence. You got to figure out what's missing.
And they don't understand. See, that's a problem with a lot of writers, too.
Yeah.
It's their map of the subject. Like, if I have a college book, like a textbook in calculus, and it says something like, this is easy. Everyone knows this. It's simple. And you're looking at it and going, I must be the dumbest person to ever study this subject. I don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And the reason is, it's easy when you're a professor doing it for 35 years.
Yeah.
And it's the first book. For someone with no experience, that's so simple.
Wow.
And they don't explain things well. They don't elucidate. What I can do now is show you there's just 5 things you need to learn and how to learn them.
All right, we're almost out of time. Now, are these resources available there at howieprogram.com?
Yes, I also include my phone number for personal help of people. I don't charge for that. I help them, and I give them 30-day guarantee. They will be 100% quicker in just 4 hours with better comprehension. We guarantee that, and have 30 days to do a 4-hour program, risk-free.
You know what's so encouraging about this, Howard, is that in this modern tech world, we're not reading like we used to. We need to get back to reading, huh?
Even on screen, I was the Sony e-reader spokesperson. If you go to watchhowardread.com, I was with Justin Timberlake and Peyton Manning. So I know that a lot of reading is done on computers and on smartphones and on touchpads, but there's still a lot of value in just knowing what to look for and how to find it. It doesn't matter whether it's on paper or on the screen. Learning is learning, and the program really teaches you how to do it both in a book and in electronic media, where a lot of the reading is done today.
Boy, I love your passion for this, and I think
you.
it's a key for a young person's life. You know, I didn't learn how to read well when I was young, and I had to force myself to read more when I became older. And now I now even see more of the value of it. But if we can get kids hooked on reading young, boy, how great will their life be?
Well, this makes it more like a movie. So a lot of the kids that are bored with reading because it's so slow, they're so used to video and video games, and reading is like listening to someone talk slowly. Suddenly, it's like watching a movie or a video game, and their brain lights up, and they're engaged and they're enjoying it. And this is how you make a living today. It's what you have in your brain that makes you rich or successful or poor. And by helping people learn more information in less time, you're giving them a chance to have a better life.
All right. It's called HowieProgram.com. Check it out, and he's there for you. Take advantage of those resources. Howard, you're a delight and an inspiration. Keep up the good work, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at the Deaf TV. Did you know that when you support the Deaf TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedeaf.us.
We're back and delighted to have with us today Kim Wolf. She's the Director of Jackson County Library Services, and of course it's been busy through the summer, but it is back to school, and we want to get you on top of all the activities going on with the library system and events that are going on. Kim, nice to see you. How you doing?
Nice to see you. Very
so you had
good.
a busy summer.
We had a busy summer. We have a really active summer reading program, and the goal of the summer reading program is to keep those kids reading throughout the summer so that when they get back to school, they have the same reading skills that they ended last year with.
And then go to Howard's website and learn how to do it faster.
Yes, yeah, that was fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. So what's some of the things you got coming up for the fall?
Well, for the fall, we have of course, we have our regular homework help and programming going on. We've got Grandparents' Day coming up, and we're actually doing Grandparents' Month, where we've got story times and activities to have grandparents and grandchildren and grandothers.
Grandothers.
Yes.
All right, now, getting a card, that's one of the big things. What do they do?
all you have to do to get a card is to come in with your parents and sign up for a library card. Library cards are free, and Jackson County residents have full service.
That's wonderful. Well, you got various branches throughout the county, and as I just talked to Howard about the impact of reading, and a lot of kids just don't like it. What do you do? How can you get kids encouraged to read again?
Well, one of the things that we can make reading fun. We can be a vital proponent in the learning cycle with getting kids in there and having them be able to choose their own materials with their parents' guidance, and just to read for pleasure and for fun, and to get hooked on reading and see it as a pleasurable activity, because that can create a lifelong habit, and lifelong learning is what we want to do.
You know, I think so often, because so much is available on the internet, but there's the experience about just going to the library, right?
Yes, the library has many activities. You have choice, the responsibility of having a library card, of checking out the books or materials that you're interested in, finding information that you need so that you can help yourself in schoolwork or whatever kinds of things that you want to explore in your future.
That's wonderful. All right, so tell us about Grandparents' Day. What are we going to do as grandparents?
Grandparents' Day, we're going to have some fun activities, and kids can come in and create, I think, cards for their grandparents, and you know, one of the things about the programming that we have at the library, whether it's baby story time, babies, wobblers, toddlers, story times for preschool children, and our summer reading activities, it's a time for parents and grandparents to bond with their children. And so we just have opportunities for a lot of activities that they can do together at the library or attend together.
All right. First of all, how many libraries do we have in Jackson County?
We have 15 libraries.
15 libraries in Jackson County, and their hours are roughly?
We have 310 hours a week right now spread out between the libraries. So it just depends on the library in your community.
So they should go online and just check out the hours.
Yes, and our website is jcls.org.
jcls.org.
And we have
JacksonCountyLibraryServices.org.
Right.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of activities listed, as well as you can get into the catalog and see if we have the information or the books, materials that you're interested in.
Now, a lot of students are given reading assignments.
Yes.
And this is a good way to not only learn the library system, get a card, but check out the book that they need for their reading assignment.
Correct. Yes, we have a lot of parents and kids and tutors that are using the library for homework help. We also have some databases that they can use to take tests, and we have the accelerated reader lists that the schools use. And we have quiet space that they can come and study in, believe it or not.
There you go. You know, I've heard some really great comments about Jackson County Library System and, of course, the main library downtown, how well equipped it is. You guys have quite a selection of books.
We do. We have our collection is about 640,000 system-wide. And, of course, you can also, if we don't have an item, we can interlibrary loan it from other libraries. So we've got a network that we can use.
All right, so the main thing, get a card.
Get a card.
All right, get a card. So, and you can do that by just going to one of the libraries and going through the system to get a card.
Right.
And then do you post these days like Grandparents' Day? You got in the Medford Teens Library Day and all of these things?
Right. All of that is online. We also have flyers and information in the library. And all the libraries have different activities and programs throughout the county.
That's wonderful. Am I missing anything?
Well, just that the libraries it's still relevant.
Yeah.
People are still reading books. We do have downloadables. We have books and audio. We have computers that people can use because technology is the way of the world.
Yeah.
But the library covers all the bases. We're open to everyone, and we really have fun activities for kids too.
All right, check it out. That's jcls.org. That's right. jcls.org. That's Jackson County Library System.org. And you can check out the various events, the hours that are open, the locations that are available, the 600 and something 100,000 books that are available. That's pretty neat.
Yes.
What's the first event you got coming up after school? Grandparents' Day?
Grandparents' Day. And
What day
story
is that?
times. And, well, it's all month long, the whole month of September. It's also, September is library card sign-up month. So come on in and get your library card.
Check it out. All right. Thanks for what you do. This is wonderful for us to know this. And again, jcls.org is the place to go to check it out. Thanks for coming in.
Great. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at the Dove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at the Dove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. And coming up in just a few moments, we're going to have Eric Schiffer with us. He's chairman and CEO of Patriarch Equity and Digital Marketing. We've had Eric on before, and he is a social media and tech expert and does a lot of work around the world and with companies and arms and equips them with large digital security divisions and things like that. But he also very much involved in some of the key issues that we're looking at today and how all of this ties together. And he wants to talk about the 7th century Islamic monster use 21st century social media. How's that for a long title? We'll talk to him about that, and in particular, what is ISIS social media strategy? As you know, we have seen in recent days how some of these terrorist groups are using social media to get their message out and to demonstrate their horrific events. As we know that the beheading of the American journalist and how that was put on social media and then quickly was taken down. So anyway, we'll talk to Eric about that and helping us to understand that a little bit better. But Eric does a wonderful job in this whole social media world. And we're going to talk to him about how this is being used. By the way, his website, if you want to check it out, is digitalmarketing.com. Digitalmarketing.com, and it is an incredible resource when it comes to these kinds of activities. There he is. Hi, Eric. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you back.
Good morning. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you back. Well,
nice to see you.
I think we're all kind of shocked to a certain point that the terrorists, which seems to be somewhat antiquated in the way they fight wars, on the other hand, they're very up to date on the digital scene and how they propagate it. Can you get us up to speed on this?
Well, this is one of the most advanced, most technically strong terrorist organization that we've ever faced, and they're smart in ways that many social media experts in this country have yet to even evolve to. And what I mean by that is that they're using technology and they're using social media to precision target people that are disaffected, people that have lost their belief in themselves, they've lost the belief in their country, and they're looking for a bigger cause, not unlike a Luke Skywalker did before he went off and fought the Empire. And so they can find them by clues, and there are a lot of technical clues that they can find them. And they use Twitter, they use Facebook to target these individuals. And many of the times that these messages that are being sent, they're being sent for bifurcated reasons. One is to scare, but the other is a very precision-based recruitment tool, and it's working. And we see there's hundreds of Americans now that have joined them. In fact, we've killed several in battle. And we expect that there will likely be many more that they will recruit. This is a well-financed, very smart organization taking in revenue of some $2 million a day.
All right. I want to talk about the recruitment aspect just for a moment, because we're not only happening in the United States, we're seeing it in Europe. They're actually pulling people out of this country with American passports and visas, taking them over, training them, and then they're able to walk right back into the country. Does our State Department get this?
I believe our State Department is well aware of all of this. The challenge is that, you know, we're fighting this larger immigration battle, and depending on the side that you may be on, the positions have been maximalist. And so there isn't a middle ground to, at minimum, secure our border. And we really must secure the border because this organization, ISIS in particular, I mean, apparently they're in contacts with the Mexican mafia and the Mexican gangs. Well, these are equally smart, intelligent, very sophisticated groups of individuals, and so they can assist them in getting across the border. But then you're right. There's also the more overt way through, these visa waivers through people that already have approval in Europe to be able to fly over, which means we literally need to go through and track all those visa waivers that have been issued over the last 5 to 7 years to ensure there isn't a nexus.
Wow. Recently with the beheading of the American journalist, it went viral on YouTube there for a while. And are we actually aiding and abetting this by allowing it to happen? I mean, how do we police this? This is incredible.
Well, there's two issues. One is, how do we deal with it with our kids? Right. Two, should we even cover it on the media side? Three, should our social media platforms even be allowed to show them? And with your children, I think it's the best is to keep it away from the kids, especially if they're under 8, 9 years old. They don't need to hear about this stuff. For people that on the media side, the media has an obligation to cover it. I mean, and they will continue to cover it. And unfortunately, because of ratings, they tend to cover it more because there's a conflict or there's violence. With respect to social media, Twitter is absolutely against these kind of violent images, and so is Facebook. So you can do your part at home. If you see ISIS spreading these things, report it to Twitter, report it to Facebook, wipe it out.
Do we have the support of the company in doing that?
Yes, yeah. They absolutely are actively taking these types of messages down. They just need to be aware of them. They don't have the technical tools to be able to sort through videos or sort through links. So the people that are using Twitter and that are using Facebook can be a big help in making sure that goes away.
All right. We've had various stories, and I'm sure you're well involved with this, Eric, and that is how safe are we on some of these social media sites? It seems like once we're there, we're now vulnerable for all kinds of stuff. Can you help us with that?
Well, on the platforms themselves, you're not vulnerable. Where you're vulnerable is when you click on a link. And so you have to be careful about the links that you're clicking on because some of the links can download information that can be less than positive. So typically Twitter and Facebook check those links, but sometimes those links get switched. And so I would say in 95 to 98% of the cases, you're fine. But if it takes you to a site that you're not familiar with, that looks sketchy, close the browser page or tab. Make sure you get out of it quickly. And always, on a weekly basis, you should be running antivirus software as it is to ensure that you haven't been affected. I can tell you that, the one thing in addition with ISIS is they're actively engaging in these kind of intrusive devices to get on people's systems, both robotic, artificial intelligence driven, and then viral. And so, again, if you're at a site that looks strange, where the messages may seem off or may seem extremist, shut down the tab.
Wow. How do we fight this evil on social media? What's your recommendation?
You're never going to eradicate it entirely. I think that, the government is making some strategic shifts now to take down this organization that over the last 4 years has slowly grown a lot stronger in the wake of Al-Qaeda's demise and also in our retreat from Iraq and our semi-retreat from Afghanistan. And, what's happening in Syria is only helping this organization grow stronger because we're at odds with Assad, and Assad in many ways is fighting against this organization. For those that don't know, they want what is a Muslim holy war. Okay, they're calling for a caliphate, and a caliphate, for those of you that don't know, is this crusade in which you enjoin religion, which is the Muslim religion, with a statehood.
Right.
And they want to combine all of Muslims into a pack that would be religiously focused, but as part of a large state. And that means the enemy are Christians, are Catholics, are Americans, are Shias that don't believe in the type of Muslim sect that the Sunnis are, and anyone else that may be in their way.
And i.e. the annihilation of Israel, because it's in their way.
Well, Israel is absolutely in their way. Israel represents the Jews, it represents Christians, and it represents the evil, which is the United States. So they're not compromising, okay? And look, this is not the first time we've seen religious wars. I mean, many great religions have been founded this way. Not to suggest that this is, I'm not saying that this is great or not. I certainly don't sympathize with ISIS or their cause. What my point is that we've seen this in history, and this is an attempt, and the last time they tried to do this is the early 1900s with the Ottoman Empire. So it's coming. We can stop it. We need to be aware of when we see messages coming into us on social media and report them, and ensure that we're aware of our surroundings, because we're dealing with a much smarter, more well-financed foe, an enemy, than Al-Qaeda ever could be.
You know, it seems, Eric, that the faith community is just not quite there yet, or they're trapped in their emotions on how do you pray for an enemy that wants to kill you. we may be stuck with what the Scripture says versus what the enemy's really doing.
This is a tough one for anyone that is a devout person of faith, no question. This is an enemy, unfortunately, that doesn't give us much biblical wiggle room. It's just the case. And so I think more answers will come to us. Prayer is needed in this country and for our troops, and so we can continue to focus there.
All right, let me take a quick break. I know you have more you want to share with us, but it's so interesting that this 7th century belief system is using 21st century technology when their own military is still antiquated, and they're winning. Yeah. I mean, it's just there's something wrong with this picture. I want you to comment on that. We'll be right back with Eric right after this quick timeout.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at the Dove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and our special guest today is Eric Schiffer. We delight to have him back, and he's chairman and CEO of Patriarch Equity and Digital Marketing. And by the way, his website, which is a great resource, is digitalmarketing.com. He works with companies and corporations all over the place, and perhaps he would be a great resource for you as well. And Eric, tell us, what is it you do with digital marketing? Because you're very active in the social media world, and you help companies kind of get on track.
Well, one of the biggest things that we do is we help people that have been hacked, and more often than not, their reputations have been hacked. So we're talking about businesses and individuals, and we have a company called reputationmanagementconsultants.com. reputationmanagementconsultants.com. And so we help businesses that have been maligned, where angry customers may have written some bad things, where they may have had a lawsuit that appears on the first page of Google, where there may have been an old arrest record, where some divorce proceeding may have interfered with them, and thus it's hurting their business. And we work to make sure that goes away, and that we present the current state of affairs for a specific individual so that they can present a better picture to the public. And, and look, in today, everyone Googles you, so it can affect your ability to date. It can affect your ability to make an income.
Yeah, and all you have to do is have a false report, and you're upside down for a while.
And a third to 50% of the time, it can be false, or it can be someone who's just not necessarily your friend that's writing something inappropriate. So it's good to have your reputation looked at, number one, monitored, so we monitor it, make sure that it's protected, and then also when you have a problem, we clear it.
All right, back to terrorist organizations that are using social media to propagate, and I guess it's propagate, recruitment, and intimidation. It's got kind of the three categories why they're using it the way they are?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say recruitment and intimidation are the large two, and it's working. They're benefiting themselves significantly. They're actually hijacking traffic, and what I mean by that is there was a tweet trend that was going out, where the hashtag was something along the lines of seismic San Francisco, and were people that wanted to check on the earthquake, and they would click on it, and it was all ISIS propaganda. So they're finding ways to get your attention. They understand how to manipulate these technologies. They've invested in artificial intelligence to make it happen, and no one can necessarily stop them immediately. Until you become aware of it, and then you take action. And people are taking action; they're alerting it to Twitter, but then they're moving on to their next tact. Smart organization and with deep pockets. That's the concerning piece. It's not just that they understand the technology; they have a lot of money, and money buys you access. It buys you consulting. It can buy you a lot of very, very smart technical people.
And they're getting their money by taking over these cities and basically confiscating banks, right?
They're taking over cities, confiscating banks, confiscating oil, taking our resources that we left in the form of equipment and guns and weaponry and vehicles during the Iraqi war, doing a lot of hijacking of individuals, including kidnapping with ransoms that raise into the $6 to $10 million range. They are a smart group of extortionists, killers, and they need to be stopped.
Now, are you saying that with this money that they're actually buying technology back into maybe even the United States or other countries that would be normally against what they do, but they're using their resources to buy information or know-how from companies?
Well, there's no question that they're buying technology resources, because they're using robots on Twitter to ensure that they get these trend hits to happen. They're using artificial intelligence in its rudimentary, in a basic form to propagate these things. And I would imagine that they're also getting access to, based upon the patterns that I've seen, certain types of what I consider to be big data, so that they can find and track disenfranchised youth who no longer believe in the country and no longer believe in themselves and want something bigger than themselves to believe in.
Wow. All right, I want to come back to something I just kind of scratched my head over. All right, they got a lot of money. We understand that. The military is antiquated. I mean, they're running around and beat up pickup trucks with a machine gun in the back. Now, they do have some missiles, but they don't have the military technology that we have. I don't know why we're even playing around with these people. I want to just wipe them out.
Well, there are a lot in the military that agree with you. The difference is that these kind of organizations have money where they can buy weaponry, they can buy advanced weaponry, but they can be taken out. And we need to take them out. It's more complicated, though, because it involves where their hiding place is, and they hide in Syria. Right. And we've purposely not wanted to go into Syria for several reasons, and unfortunately, it looks like we may have to. There's been some reconnaissance flights over Syria over the last week or 10 days that President Obama has approved, and I would imagine that our next move will likely be some special forces into Syria to begin to take out some of these guys.
It's been said they're in the United States. There's cells all around. There is some kind of a game plan being done right under our nose. Do you believe that?
Unfortunately, I believe that they have cells in the United States, yes. It wouldn't surprise me if they also had been planning some things in the United States. And look, this goes for why we need the technical monitoring that the NSA has been doing. I mean, now we see the flip side of that whole argument about how far can we go. Thankfully, we do have the capability to be able to be aware of some of these things, but they're also smart. They know we have that technology, so they play. I'm sure that they're playing around that as best they can. But unfortunately, yes, I do believe there are people here.
All right, so our border to the south is extremely porous at the moment. We know that there's more than just Mexicans coming across the border. There's probably terrorists. We know there's Chinese. We know there's others that are coming across the border. We know that our intelligence community inside the United States has said, well, it looks like they may be looking at an attack in Chicago. The other day I read it could be Las Vegas. Why are we even playing around with this stuff? Why aren't we on high alert?
Well, I think we're on a greater alert. There certainly were messages that went out through Homeland Security to everyone. And certainly you saw the UK this morning is at its highest alert. I would imagine that they're considering it at the White House, depending upon the latest set of intelligence. And I would imagine that you're also going to see an escalation of this war against them. It's a tricky one for President Obama to balance, because here's someone who came in under the mantle of a Nobel Peace winning acceptance that first early part of his reign, and he was supposed to de-escalate wars, and so he's got a tricky balance here, and also the fact that ISIS over the last four years has grown during this period. So I do think they will take some action. I think if you're going to be in very populated areas, be careful. Certainly consider other potential locations until we have more data.
Do you see a inside civil war going on within the Islamic faith, or those who are controlling the extreme arm of the faith? Because it's kind of like, who really wants to be in charge? The Osama are gone, Bin Ladens are gone, stuff like that. But on the other hand, I read the other day where there's a real civil war going on. Who's going to end up being the top cop?
There is. Well, you have the Sunni faction, okay, on the one side, and that's Saudi Arabia and some of the other Sunni countries. And then you have the extreme version of the Sunnis, which is ISIS. And then you have the Shias, and the Shias are largely represented by Persia, Iran, and then obviously the majority of individuals in Iraq are Shia, and you now have Shia leadership. So there is a battle. The strongest power on the what I would consider to be the terrorist side would be ISIS at this point, but Iran is no slouch, as we know, and is trying to get nuclear weapons, would love to take out Israel, has been funding terror through Hamas for years, has just recently talked about funding and is sending weapons to Hamas to not only handle fighting in Gaza, but also begin to move into the West Bank and other parts of Israel, for more the moderates are. So this is a mess. It really is. And unfortunately, we're trying to unwind what is literally thousands of years of conflict. And the techniques are similar. You could go way back. I mean, they were using these similar techniques, obviously not technological ones, but the beheadings, et cetera, for instilling fear. It's not an easy solution. The best solution, in my opinion, is to ensure number one, that we are protecting this country in every way that we possibly can, and also to ensure that no one has access to nuclear weapons, because then at minimum we can contain the certain amount of the destruction, and third is to keep Israel safe.
You know, the Obama administration admitted yesterday that they really don't have a strategy when it comes to ISIS at the moment, which, you know, now is backfired and got them a lot of criticism.
Sure.
But there's some obvious things that we're not even doing. We are not showing that we have Israel's back, and we should be supplying unbelievable support to Kurdistan, and we're not even doing that. So what is our policy?
You know, it's clear that I saw the same thing you did. The strategy appears to still be being fully baked. Clearly they have an objective, though, and the objective is to wipe out ISIS. But the best way to make that happen and still balance that with the fact that they don't want to align themselves too closely to Assad, and how to do this through the prism of also protecting Israel is a very complex set of decision making that needs to happen, and because you got to consider all the implications. So I can understand them not necessarily having the full strategy, but I would imagine that they have many options. They just haven't elected one.
Interesting. All right. Digitalmarketing.com. What can people get when they go to your website? What's there for them?
Well, you know, actually an even better resource would be the ericschiffer.com. You can go to ERICSCHIFFER, or if you're interested in reading some business articles and different articles I've written, you can go to Forbes and type in my name, Eric Schiffer, and there's a host of new articles that on leadership and on business as well that you may find interesting.
How do you, just quickly over to that vein, how do you see our economy? Is it good for business these days? It's improving?
I think the economy is improving. I think it's definitely much stronger than it was when we first were coming out of that recession. There still are a lot of people that need jobs, and they're not getting them. What concerns me, though, is the printing of money, and I would like to see it stop. But I also understand the Fed's concern, which is that when you start raising rates, you begin to send another message, and it will change the stock market. It will change the asset class appreciation, and that's a concern too. But I think overall, we've got another what looks to be a year or two before we might have, a cyclical recession. And I think they've managed it fairly well. I just would like to see less printing of money.
All right, thank you, Eric. EricSchiffer.com is one resource. DigitalMarketing.com is the other one. And what was the one about reputation?
Reputation Management Consultants. It's a mouthful. ReputationManagementConsultants.com. Right. And check it out. If you have a business, if you have, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, and you've been maligned, or you have a small business or a large business, and you want to check out your reputation, it's a good place to go.
Hey, thanks, my friend. Good to see you again. Keep up the good work. We'll have you back. All right, good to see you.
I would like to take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right, God bless. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.